I'd made the decision. I set everything up. I googled how to do it, what to expect. I picked my last song. I put my headphones in and I stepped up to finish my life off. And as I stood there ready to kick that bucket out, I just cried. The depression was so bad that I didn't want to live anymore. And little did I know that the next day my life was about to get even worse. And that was tough to go through. And somewhere in that I found the strength as I cried uncontrollably, waiting for a phone call or a message or someone to come around and just interrupt this process because I couldn't do it myself. And somehow I found the strength to do that myself. It's not even 2 years later and I have never been happier. I'm surrounded by amazing friends and family who are the best group of people that anyone could ask for. My finances have never been so well managed or so abundant, and my health and my physical fitness has never been better in my life, and never have I felt more joy and peace than I do now. I had major depression for a long time, almost half my life, and it was something that I lived for, always trying to find an answer, but always looking in the wrong places. I kept looking for solutions in the external world, and now I know that that solution was within me the entire time. I'm so happy within myself now that it's radiated into my outer world, and that's been reflected back at me through my social circle. And now I hear things from my friends who say things like, I was having a terrible day today, and I thought, how would Nathan think of this? How would Nathan approach this situation? And I turn things around. Or, what would Nathan do is one I hear commonly. What would Nathan do when people are overwhelmed or they're stuck or they're procrastinating? What would Nathan do? And it's an honor in itself to know that people look to me for influence even when I'm not there. And what a privilege to have that leadership in my immediate community. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what will work for everyone. I can't tell you not to take medications because some will work for some people for a while. Medications can be a great leverage to get you out of a rough place long enough to make changes in your life. They are a great tool, but for me weren't a long-term solution. I went through about 15 different medications over the years, SSRI, SNRI, lithium, stimulants, and some worked with side effects, some didn't work at all, and some just put me to sleep. Depression is a mismatch between how you think your world should look and how it actually looks. And ultimately, at its core, it's a feeling of I'm not enough, but not knowing where to find the answer to be enough. You look in the outside world long enough and you try sex, you try drugs, you try relationships, and all you're doing to find validation there in that outside world is pushing yourself further and further into yourself, into a depression as your brain forces you to look in the right places, which is inside you. It wasn't until I found myself realizing that I was enough, that I am worthy of love and that I am loved, that all that depression started to dissolve away. But that path there was a journey, and setting up my life in a way to show myself logically, because I am a logical person, that I am enough took work. And that's why happiness is a choice. But it's not a choice of I'm unhappy right now. But it's not a choice of I'm unhappy right now, so I choose happiness, as much as I choose to do things that make me happy. Because at the height of depression, if someone said to me happiness is a choice and I didn't understand what that meant, I would have just scoffed and told them something like, you don't understand. You don't understand the depths of this feeling. You don't understand what I'm going through. And it's a feeling. It's physiological as well as mental. And I remember it felt like a heavy weight in my chest, which was always there. And I realize now that that was probably chemicals being held in my body on a physical level. That as humans, we don't really know instinctively how to get rid of. And there's a good book by Peter Levine called Waking the Tiger, which talks about how when an antler or something, an animal is in stress, and that stress passes, when the lion or whatever disappears or chooses another animal or they get away, they'll shake uncontrollably. They'll shake off the energy, that excess energy, to get rid of it, to get it out of their physiological system. As humans, we don't instinctively know how to do that. We do have tools that'll help us do that, but we don't know instinctively how to do it. So I had to go through a process of showing myself that I was enough and constantly make that choice to be happy. I make these choices on a daily basis, and so I've set up my life in a way where these choices are just now part of my identity. And it's how I live, and that makes those choices easier, which means happiness is essentially a way of life for me now. So what does that look like? What does that process look like? What things can you introduce or remove to start to heal your life from that depression and the anxiety? Number one is having purpose and direction, clarity around what you want. And I mean really understanding where you're headed and where you're going and why. And that might be a yearly goal where it might just be, I want to give up drinking. But if you're headed towards something and you're working towards building a future and you can see that future, you start to see yourself in a different way. You start to change your identity and embody that new life day by day. And as long as you show up every day and work towards that new direction, you'll slowly start to expand that vision, expand that direction. Set goals, play with life, say yes to opportunities, and enjoy what life throws at you, because every step along that path is a part of that journey. The obstacle is the path, and if something seems hard or scary, then that's likely the path that you have to take. Joseph Campbell said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." And Marcus Aurelius says, "The impedance to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Life isn't about comfort. It's about expansion, growth, and a greater understanding. And to tell you a story, a friend of mine came to me a few months ago and said, "I do Power Talk. Would you like to come? It's every second Wednesday, 7:30 till 9:30 at night. Come along, it'll be fun." Now, I could have come up with a whole lot of excuses, and valid excuses, for not going, not wanting to go. I could have said it finishes too late, I've got to get up early the next morning and I can't do it. It's an hour away from my house, it's a long drive. I don't want to make that drive. It's at a time in the middle of the week when I've got so much else going on during the week that I just can't have anything else on my plate. I don't have the time to prep for the assignments that would be given at that time of the week on a Wednesday. I just don't have time to add anything extra onto my plate. But instead I said yes, and I started going along. And we're given assignments every week, and it might be a minute, it might be 3 minutes, it might be a 25-minute talk. But we've got to get up. And as a musician, who my main income comes from playing in front of people every single weekend, but public speaking scares me. It's a real fear for me, because I'm really vulnerable and I'm putting my thoughts and my identity right out there to be judged, for people to judge and give me feedback on that judgment so I can improve. So it's a scary place to be. And instead of saying no and making up excuses, I said yes. Now that has turned into, I've made friends there. I've got opportunities. There's people that have heard how I speak and how I present and how I think, and they want to work with me. So it's expanding my business, it's expanding my opportunities for income and abundance. So say yes to those things that scare you, because they will set you on the path. And if it's scary, that probably means that you're supposed to do it. Number 2 is removing toxicity from your life. And this can happen naturally through attrition as you become a better version of yourself, which has certainly happened to me. As people I no longer resonated with, they kind of just fall away from my life. Or it can happen intentionally by walking away from people and situations that no longer serve you. Some people never grow up. They are teenagers stuck in adult bodies, and removing those people from your life opens the door for a higher caliber of people to move in. Removing toxic substances. So this also happened quite naturally for me. Substances such as weed and stimulants, alcohol, energy drinks, and now I'm working on sugar, slowly fall out of my life, or I intentionally try and cut them out. And there was some work in these processes, especially at the start, to remove something like weed from my life because I depended on it. And I had an ADHD diagnosis, and it was some of those substances that I took were really beneficial, and they were a great tool at the time when I started to get me the leverage to get to where I'm going. And so removing them, there was fear and there was resistance and anxiety about removing these things that I'd relied on for so long. But it does get easier as you grow and expand into a higher version of yourself. Now I look back and think, I can't believe I used to smoke cigarettes. Like, it just seems silly to me that I used to smoke. It's crazy. But me now, where I'm at in this level of my consciousness, it's easy to look back and think that. But at the time I was like, I love smoking. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Number 3, I won't go on about this one too much because I bang on about it so much, and especially to my friends and people around me, I go on a lot about journaling. Now, journaling for me is a record of my life, of my thoughts. It started as a way for me to release my emotions and to give them somewhere to play out, because I didn't know how to do that in real time in my head. I didn't know how to process my emotions. Now I'm at a point where I can process those emotions as they come up in real time, in the moment, by creating a gap between stimulus and response. But that took a lot of practice, and journaling was one of those things that really helped to push that practice forward. Journaling now for me is about strategy, about recording ideas and designing my life, which looks very different to my emotional rants that I spewed out when I started journaling. And writing with pen and paper seems to give my mind that space to really think and reflect. And so I have a specific journaling process now, which I've developed over the last couple of years. So if you want to hear more on that, drop a comment and I'll make a video about journaling. But it's like a dirty tap that hasn't been turned on for a while. And when you first start journaling, all that dirty water comes out, all that stuff that's been held up in your head, it's got somewhere to go now. So it just starts coming out, spewing out dirty water. After a while, that water starts to become clear and the thoughts get more pure and the ideas start to flow. And ideas are potential solutions to problems. So the more ideas that you can get out, the more ideas you can get flowing, the better your life's going to be, because you start to play, how can I? And instead of coming up against a problem or a challenge and going, oh, that's too tough, I can't deal with that, you go, how can I? How can I make that happen? What strategy can I come up with? Can I devise? And because your journal is a space for infinite possibility, any idea is a valid idea in your journal, and no one's ever going to read it, so except for yourself. And reflection on that, I go back at the end of every journal, which a journal lasts about 3 months, so I go back every 3 months and reflect on the whole lot. And there is so much in there that ideas that I've written and integration and things that I've trying to integrate into my life. And I use the journal as an integration process of lessons that I've learned and for my growth. And I'll be sitting at a seminar or a group or a conference and I'll just be journaling. Everything goes in my journal. All the knowledge, all the thoughts, all the integration of that wisdom. And then it's a processing plan. It's a processing process to process emotions and to process thoughts and ideas and feelings. And number 4 is exercise and nutrition. Now I go on about these constantly too, because it had such a profound effect on my life. Now getting up in the morning and doing something hard shows me that I can do hard things. It's a daily reminder that I can do this. And if I want to achieve something, it's just a matter of effort and consistency. And if I tackle a workout first thing in the morning, the rest of the day is easier. It also ties into the purpose and direction, as well as self-leadership, self-discipline, self-motivation, self-starting, goal setting. I know my body isn't where I want it to be, and that's part of the excitement because it's slowly moving in the right direction. And so I had to bring my weight up from 55 kilos to my goal weight of around 70, which took around a year. And I'm now trying to keep it there, but with more definition, because I kind of did it in an unhealthy way. There was a high carb, high fat diet. And so I'm trying to get some definition with the lower body fat. So now my goal isn't to go up, it's to stay where I am and maintain it, but with lower body fat. So it's a constantly moving target, which always gives me something to work towards. Manage your sleep. Just in this exercise nutrition, this whole thing could be a whole video on itself, and there are channels dedicated to all this. So manage your sleep and have a set routine that prioritizes good sleeping behavior. So have a night routine, have a morning routine, good sleep hygiene. Practices for getting to sleep and staying asleep. I measured my sleep for months. I measured my sleep, my energy levels, my mood, and tried to tie it all in to figure out where I could improve and how I could do better. And I played with my bedtimes and my awake times to get the best out of my day that I could. And I used a sleep app that's tied to my smartwatch, so it could measure my sleep. And it might not be 100% accurate, but having that consistent measurement every day gives me an idea of a benchmark and something to measure against that I can understand if changes that I make improve or take away from that. And content, which is like a mental diet, mental nutrition. Now, I don't watch the news, I don't watch TV, and I'm conscious of the content that goes into my brain as part of my mental diet. So even the music that I listen to, the lyrics and the content and the ideas around in the music that I listen to, I'm even conscious and wary about that, because it's important to know what you're putting into your body and into your brain, because that feeds your thoughts and it feeds your state of mind, and that's different for every person, because metal sometimes gets me pumped up, sometimes rap gets me pumped up, and that will get me through a workout or get me through a morning run or something like that. But the music definitely and the content will definitely have an effect on your state of mind. Number 5 is social connection and relationships. Now this is huge, because we all love to feel loved, and as social creatures, it's part of our need structure for love and belonging. A social circle has to be cultivated and nurtured. We can't just sit at home and wait for someone to message and call and say, hey, do you want to do something? That can and does happen, but if you want to be part of a social circle, if you want friends and connection, you're allowed to message first and say, let's do something this weekend. Actively engage in your friend group and be that friend that holds the group together. There's always that one or two friends that are the glue that hold the friendship group together. They'll be the ones that are constantly organizing things and inviting everyone to things, and you can be that person. And if you say, I've got social anxiety, or I think people are going to reject me, that's okay, because if you keep putting yourself out there and keep exposing yourself to that, you'll get better at it. And it's just practice, it's just a skill, and showing yourself that you are loved and people love you and people do want to hang out with you. And I'll tell you a secret, nearly everyone has a fear of rejection. Nearly everyone has that fear of social anxiety stemming from that fear of rejection. And some people just push through it better than others. So keep talking to people, keep engaging, because eventually you'll find your tribe. And knowing that there's people out there that have got your back, and having those people around you. And I have a lot of conversations. A lot of friends lean on me, and I lean on a lot of my friends, and those conversations back and forth. And that's been a big thing for me to help me become my best self, is having these awesome people around me who are vulnerable. And I create that space myself by letting them be vulnerable and holding space for other people. They hold space for me, and they let me be vulnerable and without judgment. And that's why I've got such an awesome friend group. Number 6 is emotional mastery. And this is way too big to put into a subsection of a video. It deserves its own video, but if you have a look at Marcus Aurelius's meditations and Stoicism in general, when I first got into Stoicism, I thought it was about being so strong that you can totally block your emotions. Now I understand that it's being so strong because you know how to master your emotions. You know how to feel them and not let them influence your outside world. Not let them control an outcome. So you're not reacting to your emotions, you're responding to them. And this on its own, emotional mastery, will change your life 100%, because people will test you, people will try and rock you, especially if they know they can. If they know they can rock you, they know they can test you, and you will react, people will just do it. There are people in the world who get energy from that sort of thing. They love it. It's how they feel their own power and they feel their own control by making other people react and making other people go crazy. It's just something that people do. So if you can have that gap between the stimulus, the conditions and the reaction, you can respond in a better way and say, dude, that's all you. And you still feel the emotions. They still come up. You never block them. It's like, okay, this is what I'm feeling now. And that is a whole video on itself on how to, it's probably a series of videos on how to master emotions and how to feel it and where to feel it in the body and then how to deal with anxiety and all that. But if you're looking for something that will change your world, mastering your emotions, not controlling them, mastering them, letting them go, letting them flow through you. Let that emotion come through, because if you let an emotion go through you and flow properly, it only lasts like 10 seconds, 60 seconds. It's not long. And if you're feeling angry and you try and block that, or you get angry that you're getting angry, or you try and push it down, it'll just keep coming up. Whereas if you just go, let that go and give yourself permission to feel that for a second, it'll just pass through you. And then you can start to go, okay, what's really going on here? And looking through a situation from a higher, better perspective and a different viewpoint. It also enhances every single relationship you have. And it opens the door to things like forgiveness, understanding, unconditional love. Just having that emotional mastery opens the door to these sort of things. And being able to forgive is a skill on its own, and it's huge, and that will change your world too. So being able to, and it'll help you see things from different perspectives, especially from other people's perspectives, which is huge. If you can see a situation from your perspective, from other people's perspective, from everybody's perspective, from a higher perspective, and you start looking at things that way, you come up with better solutions, and you ask better questions and you come up with better solutions, and everything changes from there. Number 7 is growth and contribution. Now, growth is a way of life for me, and I probably spend as much time every week on personal growth as I do working, because it's almost constant. If I can have an earbud in while I'm doing something else, while I'm washing the dishes, while I'm even having a shower, while I'm doing my meal prep, while I'm going for a run, if I can have an earbud in while I'm driving, whatever, I'll have it in there, and I'll be listening to a podcast or a lecture or an audio book. I go through an audio book every day or every 2 days. Some of them are 12 hours long, and I'll go through them, and 6 or 7 audio books a week. Now, not all that gets integrated because the information's going through so quickly, and I'm trying to journal bits and pieces of it, but there are nuggets of wisdom that do come through. So I listen to a lot of different things, from philosophy and stoicism and psychology and metaphysics and physics and all sorts of different subjects business that really interest me. So my life has now become an experiment where I can try things out, and if they work for me, I can use that wisdom and break it down into videos or lessons to share with others. So growth is part of my contribution, and it's become so much a part of my life that I gravitate towards it automatically now, and it doesn't feel like work. Number 8 is gratitude. You can rewire, there's a million videos on this, and so I won't go too much into it, but you can rewire your brain. You can change how you think. And there's no easier way to say it than it's just practice. It's almost a skill. It is a skill. And that is part of the growth and contribution, but it's largely, it's tied into gratitude. So for me, my gratitude is tied into journaling, and I do that at the end of every day. And every day I find something to be grateful for, and it might be I have a car, I have a job, I have a warm bed, I have good friends, I'm grateful for the journey, whatever it is, because there'll always be something that's not working well in your life, and sometimes you find that's what you focus on. Like if you're overweight, that's all you can think about, but you don't focus on how awesome your relationships are, how awesome your job is, that you've got a car, how awesome your house is. You don't focus on that you can breathe. What a gift it is to have a life. And sometimes for me, to get that balance, I can't have all the plates spinning in the air all the time. If I try, this plate will slow down, and then I'll go over and spin this one, and then this one will slow down, so I'll go and spin this one. And so I'll work on my relationships and then I won't work as much in my business. So the money goes down. So I work in the business and I lose the relationships, or I try and get the business and the relationships going and my workouts fall down and I'm not working out as much. So it's a balance between getting to everything when it needs to be, when you need to get to it. But the point is, even if there's things that aren't working in your life, there'll be things that are working that you can be grateful for, that other people wish they had. And number 9, the final point, is all of this led me to the realization that I am enough, because I embody self-love, self-care, and self-actualization. My purpose and direction is to become greater than I am now, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And in knowing that everything in life is the path to achieve that, by showing myself every day that I can handle anything that's thrown at me, and realizing that I am the one that set the path. I am the one that's setting the obstacles, and I am the one that's creating this life, creating the struggle, creating the suffering, and constantly test myself to become greater than my circumstances. My life is a constant reminder that I am enough, that I've got this. And letting go of everything, letting go of control into a knowing that everything is simply an experience, a happening, which holds no meaning greater than that to which I assign to it. We assign the meaning to things, otherwise things just are. And it's the assignment of that meaning where we find the suffering or the gratitude in it. And letting go of that meaning, and letting things just be things, letting situations just be situations and experiences, helps me to have that full control and determine what kind of life I want to live, and whether I live in a friendly universe or a hostile universe. I definitely live in a friendly universe. And I'll give you an example. I just went to go and pick up a speaker, and it was an hour to drive there, and I got there at 4:15. The website said they closed at 5. Or Google Maps said they closed at 5. I got there at 4:15. On the door it said they closed at 4. And I thought, that's okay. I really need this speaker tomorrow. It's part of the setup production that I need, and I'm really counting on it. They're closed. And I thought, that's okay. I can come back tomorrow on the way up. It's sort of on the way. Or I can just go and see if they're open now. I'll just go and try. As I got to the door, a guy who worked there was walking towards, out of the back section towards the front section, and he was just happened to be walking right past the door as I walked up to it, and he came up and opened the door. And I said, thank you so much, man. You've just made my day. And I got to pick up my speaker and pay for it and everything. But by letting go of that and going, okay, no worries, that's all right. No big deal. I'll find another solution. I'll find a way around it tomorrow. I'll take time out of my day tomorrow, even though this is an hour drive here. Doesn't matter. The universe went, you know what? Good attitude. You've got this. And that has happened so many times to me, just by me not worrying and not getting frustrated at the situation. If I'd have gotten frustrated and angry that I got there late, maybe I just would have turned around and gone, I'll just come back tomorrow. And I could have just got back in the car and driven in 2 hours for nothing. But because I just went, I'm just going to try. It's your energy and the gratitude that the universe gives back that shows you that you live in a friendly universe. So I hope that helps. I can't give you an entire blueprint. I'd love to, but I can't give you a whole blueprint for how to get from out of depression and into an awesome, joyful, excited life, because there's so much in it. And part of this channel, well, the whole basis for this channel was for me to give people what I didn't have along this journey. And I'm trying to put everything together into one place, into one channel, where you can come and grow and learn and take bits and pieces of what you need and go, that resonates, that doesn't resonate, leave that. I'll take that. I like that idea. I don't like that idea. And just try and give everyone else what I didn't have. Try and give me from my past what I didn't have, so that you can get to this place a lot quicker without having to go through all this crap. So I hope it helps. You're awesome. I love you. Thank you so much for watching. If you got this far, you're amazing. I'm proud of you, and I'll see you in the next one.